Okay, let's unpack this. When people think about exercise during pregnancy, the default idea is often just, maintain fitness or maybe be gentle, like standard exercise, just tone down a bit is basically fine. But our deep dive today into specialized prenatal movement tells a totally different story. We're really looking at why generic fitness classes for expectant mothers aren't just, well, maybe not the best. The source material we have suggests they pose specific, measurable safety risks. So our mission here is to understand this world of highly specialized training. We're pulling directly from the expertise of Caroline Berger. She directs the Stott Pilates Training Center in France, Studio Biopilates Paris, and she makes it really clear specialization isn't just a nice to have, it's a physiological necessity.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is why it's so urgent. It stems from the body's massive overhaul during pregnancy. Caroline Berger really emphasizes that the transformation isn't just surface level. It changes the whole system on four fundamental levels: physiological, biomechanical, emotional, and hormonal. You're essentially dealing with a person undergoing a complete systemic change. And that just demands a highly adaptive approach.
A systemic modification. Wow, that really puts the physical needs of pregnancy way beyond like a standard fitness certification.
Absolutely. And the core principle they really drive home is this: a movement that's perfectly safe, even beneficial for a regular student. It can become genuinely dangerous for an expectant mother. So this immediately shifts the focus. It's not just about feeling comfortable anymore. It puts it squarely onto safety and, frankly, clinical precision.
Okay, and we have two very concrete examples of safety risks that often get ignored in non-specialized settings. Let's start with the one affecting circulation, because that sounds critical.
Right. The first risk involves something super common in standard fitness classes: lying flat on your back. The supine position. See, starting around the 20th week, maybe even a bit sooner for some, the weight of the growing uterus can actually press down on the vena cava. That's the body's main vein, bringing blood back to the heart.
Okay.
So when that vein gets compressed, blood flow gets disrupted. It can lead to something called supine hypotension syndrome. And the symptoms are pretty alarming. The mother might feel dizzy, acutely nauseous, or could even faint. This is a literal blood flow issue, not just about comfort.
Wow.
And an instructor who isn't properly certified in prenatal anatomy, they might not know about the 20-week guideline or, crucially, how to modify that position correctly and immediately.
So the risk is about blood return, affecting both mom and baby. How often do you think that just gets missed? In a general class where the instructor is juggling like 20 people?
It's probably missed quite frequently, honestly, which is exactly why this specialization is so crucial. And that brings us to the second major anatomical risk. This one focuses on the core itself, specifically the abdominal wall, and this issue called diastasis recti.
Diastasis recti, that's the separation of the abs.
Exactly. It's the partial or sometimes full separation of the rectus abdominis muscles,
Mm-hmm.
the six-pack muscles. Now, when this happens, or even if the pregnant body is just prone to separation, the student absolutely must avoid certain exercises. Things involving forceful crunching, intense twisting, or basically anything that creates excessive pressure inside the abdomen. Doing classic crunches, for instance, could actually make the separation worse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it can impede postpartum recovery
Yeah.
and even compromise core stability long term.
And it's not just about spotting the diastasis, is it? It's also knowing how to work the supporting muscles without making that midline separation worse.
Precisely. An untrained instructor often lacks the skill to see the subtle signs like doming or tearing. And maybe more importantly, they just don't have the specific knowledge needed to engage the deep core muscles like the transverse abdominis in a way that protects the linea alba, that connective tissue down the middle.
That difference between safe, protective movement and potentially damaging movement, that must be why the source material is so firm about standard group classes, saying they're just not adapted or safe enough given the risks involved.
Exactly. They formally prescribe them.
So, okay, if the usual group class format is out, what structure do they recommend?
Well, Caroline Berger points to private classes as the absolute gold standard. Makes sense, right? It allows for total, moment-by-moment adaptation. Based on the woman's specific trimester, her energy levels that day, her physical condition, even her emotional state, the instructor can completely tailor the session.
Total customization.
Yeah, and if the student really prefers a group setting, it has to be a semi-private class. Ideally, maximum 6 participants, all pregnant, and this is led by an instructor certified specifically in prenatal instruction. The main thing in either setup is that personalized attention within a completely safe, medically informed framework.
Okay, here's where it gets really important for understanding the solution they propose. This rigorous approach leads us right to why they champion Stott Pilates specifically for prenatal and postnatal care. What makes this particular method so suitable?
Well, Studio Pilates is really valued globally because it's inherently scientific, rigorous, and modular. It's not just a fixed set of exercises, it's a methodology. And that modularity, it allows for those precise week-by-week adjustments you need as the body changes, mid or gravity shifting, hormones making joints less stable, all that stuff.
Right.
It's built on these 5 basic principles: breathing, pelvic placement, rib cage placement, scapular movement, and head cervical placement. And those apply whether you're working with like an elite athlete or a pregnant woman.
That focus on principles over just choreography seems key. Let's dig into the 3 core pillars they emphasize for prenatal work, because this is where the precision really shows. What's pillar number 1?
The first is a really strong focus on neutral position work. This is fundamental. Neutral position means maintaining the natural slight curves of the spine. You're not flattening the back, but you're not overarching either. During pregnancy, the hormone relaxin softens ligaments, making all joints less stable.
Ah, right. Relaxin.
Yeah. So by keeping the body in its optimal neutral alignment, you distribute stress correctly through the skeleton instead of overloading those unstable joints, especially in the lower back and pelvis.
I see. So the neutral position is basically biomechanical protection against that hormonal effect. Okay. What about the core strengthening itself, since we know traditional crunches are out?
That brings us to the second pillar, deep strengthening. The focus here isn't on the surface muscles, the showy ones. It's specifically on the transverse abdominis and the pelvic floor. The transverse abdominis. It acts like a natural internal corset wrapping around your whole torso. Strengthening this provides support for the growing abdomen, helps manage that increasing weight and pressure, and might even help lessen the severity of diastasis recti.
And the pelvic floor, obviously critical for labor and recovery. How does specialized Pilates address that specifically?
But integrating pelvic floor engagement with the breath and the transverse abdominis work, it's a coordinated effort that often gets neglected until after birth, but training it prenatally does a few things. Supports the pelvic organs as weight increases, and crucially gives the mother better neuromuscular control she'll need during labor and delivery.
Okay, that makes sense. And the third pillar, controlled thoracic respiration. That sounds a bit less like exercise, maybe more like a calming technique. It's actually both. Controlled breathing, focused higher up in the chest. Thoracic breathing, it serves multiple purposes. It helps with oxygenation for both mother and baby. It provides a tool for managing stress and, yes, pain during this physically demanding time. And critically, it's a skill needed for the labor process itself. The source really emphasizes that because of this focus on prevention, precision, and efficiency, the STOTT method is actually used in hospitals and perinatal rehab programs all over the world.
Okay, let's shift the focus slightly now from the method itself to the teacher, because no matter how good the method is, it really relies on the instructor's expertise, right? Caroline Berger stresses that instructors aren't dealing with a fragile population, but one that's constantly evolving. What does that actually mean for the skills a teacher needs? It means the instructor has to be like a continuous diagnostician. They can't just stick to a preset plan. Needs change dramatically. First trimester, it might be dealing with fatigue, nausea. Second trimester, you've got the shifting center of gravity, joint instability becomes a bigger thing. Then third trimester, you might see more ligament pain, reflux, swelling, edema.
Right.
A general fitness coach just isn't typically equipped to anticipate or adapt to those ongoing, very specific shifts.
So if the instructor is meant to read an expectant body, what specific skills are we talking about? Beyond just being encouraging and, well, nice.
They need a really sophisticated understanding of adaptation. That means knowing how to modify specific postures to guarantee safety, how to adjust breathing techniques depending on, say, the student's fatigue level that day, how to adapt the load, maybe switching from spring resistance on equipment to just body weight exercises, and even knowing when to shorten a session based on how the woman is feeling right then and there.
So it's very dynamic.
Very. And beyond just adapting exercises, they need to be hyper-aware of contraindications, red flags. A prenatal instructor absolutely must know how to spot warning signs that mean stop now and possibly see your doctor. Things like sudden, sharp pelvic pain that isn't muscular, signs of preterm contractions, unusual shortness of breath, feeling dizzy or faint. The source really hammers home that getting to this level of ethical, effective teaching requires specialized certification. often through specific modules like the Stott Pilates injuries and special populations training.
That context of safety, detailed anatomical knowledge, it,
Mhm.
it really feels non-negotiable. And this expertise doesn't just stop at delivery, does it? The recovery phase seems, if anything, even more critical based on the source.
Oh, absolutely. According to the source, specialized Pilates becomes pretty much indispensable in the postnatal phase. Think about it. The body has just gone through up to 9 months of significant imbalance, plus often the physical trauma of delivery itself. This is definitely not the time to just jump back into general cardio or, standard core routines. It needs specific, targeted recovery work.
So what are the main goals of this specialized postnatal work? If someone listening is maybe in this phase, what should they be looking for in a good program?
Well, there are four key areas where specialized Pilates really shines in recovery. First, and maybe most crucial for many, is rebuilding the abdominal belt. This means intelligent, gentle, deep core activation, specifically designed to help that abdominal separation, the diastasis recti heal and close up correctly.
Gently does it.
Exactly. Second is dedicated strengthening of the pelvic floor. This is vital. Making mistakes here, like doing the wrong exercises too soon, can lead to serious long-term problems. Things like incontinence or even pelvic organ prolapse, where organs can descend. Specialized Pilates ensures this area is strengthened progressively and functionally.
Okay, that's huge. What else?
Third, they focus on restoring stable posture. After months carrying extra weight up front, then adapting to carrying a baby, breastfeeding, the body often gets locked into these less than ideal compensatory patterns. The method helps gently realign the spine and pelvis, getting things back into balance.
Makes sense. Posture gets so thrown off.
Totally. And finally, it aims to reduce that common lower back and pelvic pain. The pain that often comes from all the constant carrying, lifting, bending involved in looking after a newborn. The specialized training makes sure every exercise contributes to building the structural integrity needed to handle the demands of new parenthood without pain.
The big takeaway here really seems to be about timing and progressive caution. It sounds like rushing back to exercise, especially standard stuff, could actually do more harm than good, maybe even override the body's natural recovery.
Precisely. Errors in resuming activity are incredibly common, usually because people follow generic advice or they just feel pressured to bounce back quickly. A properly trained professional manages this return intelligently. They coordinate the core and pelvic floor recovery, often working alongside medical clearance from a doctor or midwife.
So, what does this all mean then? Our deep dive into this STOTT Pilates approach, it really highlights two core truths, doesn't it? First, prenatal fitness isn't something you can just improvise. Specialized movement puts the practice at the service of maternal physiology and well-being, like the source says, respecting how the body continuously evolves. And second, going to standard, non-adapted classes. It seems to pose specific, identifiable safety risks that really need to be avoided.
Yeah, absolutely. The mission that Caroline Berger lays out is simple but quite profound. To form, to guide, to protect. We've seen today just how much anatomical precision and deep knowledge is needed simply to guide a woman safely through pregnancy and postpartum recovery. And, this really raises a bigger question for all of us, doesn't it? If a healthy natural process like pregnancy demands this level of expert specialized movement training that goes way beyond general fitness, well, how many other common yet specialized life stages or conditions might also need it? Things like, say, advanced aging, or rehab after a major injury like a spinal issue, or managing a chronic condition long term. Might these also require this kind of hyper-specific, really rigorous guidance that maybe we often overlook, settling for just general advice instead? What specialized instruction should you perhaps be seeking out for your own unique physical needs, the ones that go beyond the average gym class?